Let's begin.
Here we go! Hi, everybody!
Start the insanity.
You are not worried, are you?
Me? No.
Well, we're waiting.
Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Super Mini All-Stars. Today, we are here to talk about Stranger Things Season 2. We all just got done watching it week 1, a week later after it comes out from Friday, October 27th. I'm your host, John Harris, and today I'm joined by Jake Boston.
Oh, can't you see you belong to me?
Anthony Borich. And Brent Harris. Hey! You totally just ruined it.
We all had songs going in. What happened?
Hey!
80s, am I right?
Wow, Brent. Thanks for another great intro.
Way to mail in that fucking effort.
Jesus.
Way to bring the podcast to a
guys
halt.
do it too fast.
What, we're supposed to take our time?
Oh, sorry, Brent.
I'm
No.
sorry that my singing
No,
took...
I just didn't have one ready.
Yikes. All right, like I said, we're here to talk about Stranger Things Season 2. Before we dive into all the things here, let's lay some foreground here. Did you guys binge this, or did you guys break this up?
Oh, binged the hell out of it.
Did you?
But what's your terminology of binging?
My definition of binging, it's probably not extreme binging like I wanted to do with this show. I got 4 episodes in, had to go do some stuff. I went and saw a movie, came back, was raring to go to watch the rest of the 5, watched 3 and fell asleep, and then had to finish the final 2. So I finished this in a grand total of 3 days.
Nice.
My wife, I have to watch everything with my wife, especially everything that she wants to watch with me. So we got done with the first 4 episodes, and I texted all you guys, like, how far are you guys in? John and Brent were already at episode 6. You were the same place that I was with 4. So I'm like, oh, let's just watch the next 5. And I watched the next 5 in 2 days. Because, yeah, this show is very easy to binge.
Yeah, I think I did 2 a night. So for the week, starting the Monday after it came out, I watched 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and got through. I think the last night I did 3. Brent?
I did 3, 6, 7, and then 9.
Gotcha.
So 4 nights.
So before we get into some details here, how's everybody feeling after watching every episode?
Good. I really like this. It took you guys forcing me to watch it because I was very against watching this at the beginning.
Let's talk about that.
Definitely, because I know did I see it before anybody else? I was pretty early on Stranger Things.
I don't remember.
I saw it within the
I
first
think so.
month of it
Yeah,
coming
I
out.
watched it when it
Talking
first
us
came
into
out.
it.
And I was a big advocate of the first season.
Yeah,
like everybody that I talked to, I'm just like, you need to watch Stranger Things. Have you seen this yet? And then you 2 watched it. You can talk about that.
Yeah, I just remember this was all word of mouth.
And then, I don't know about you, I just kind of assumed Anthony watched it. But then the Super Bowl came around, and there was a trailer for Stranger Things 2. And we all started freaking out. We all watched the Super Bowl together. We all started freaking the fuck out about it, because this is the first new footage that has ever been shown.
And this is 6 months later after season 1 has been done.
Yeah, it was.
And Anthony was on, at this point, Stranger Things is really good. Everyone across the board is like, this show is fantastic. It has its following. Anthony was just late to the scene.
Yep. And so it came on, and I was like, what's so special about that trailer?
No, I had to sit your ass down and made you watch the episode 1 with me after that trailer.
He thought it would be too scary, so he didn't watch it.
What a puss.
Yeah.
That was my excuse.
Didn't you just see Jigsaw in theaters?
Okay, that
thought
wasn't scary.
Neither is Stranger Things.
Well, now I know. It's like the same. I haven't ever watched Black Mirror, but
And Anthony, you're like the biggest fan of classic kids and Spielberg, stuff like that.
I know, and I love this.
Yeah. So
I love this series.
Yeah. We got you on board eventually.
Yep, it's good.
So we left season 1 ending off with a cliffhanger with Elle was possibly alive because Hopper was putting Eggos in there. They had just defeated the Demogorgon, and we know about the Upside Down. Will had teased us with some kind of bug he was throwing up into the sink. And then, didn't season 1 end with him, experiencing a short flashback into the Upside Down?
Sure did. In the mirror in the bathroom.
Yeah. So, and we learn kind of on the relationship side, we know that Jonathan's character was flirting with the oldest
Nancy.
Nancy, yep. and we know there was some kind of dynamic there. So that leads right off into the new season. Before we go into detail here, everything on here is spoiler out.
Spoiler.
Anthony, come on. Give us the crow.
That sounds like more like the Dumbo crows each time.
That is actually a crow in heat. Wanting to mate.
I'm never doing that again.
It's one of Anthony's.
No, you're going to have to do it every
Oh
time.
my god.
It's one of Anthony's mating calls. Chelsea, I'm ready.
Chelsea's one lucky lady.
Yep.
Hey, baby, you're looking good tonight. All right, so season 2 kicks off with episode 1, and we learn of criminals essentially wearing masks, and they're doing a heist.
A ragtag bunch.
Yeah, and we meet this chick, has some kind of what appears to be illusion powers, because she freaks out this cop who thinks this bridge is breaking, and then it ends up the bridge is fine.
Yeah, when this scene ends, like with the tattoo of showing an 8 on her wrist, I started freaking out, and I'm like, oh my god, there's more of these.
Yeah.
There's more types like this.
You knew there were more.
I knew. I just didn't know if
they existed.
No, I didn't know if the show was going to delve into it.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Which is awesome. Like, I'm really glad. Starting out episode 1, I'm really glad that they started like branching out.
That sparked a lot of questions for me. Like, is this person going to be good? Is this person going to be bad? Her 8, so that means she was before 11. So what dynamic is going to happen there? Like, it's a good way to get your audience hooked in immediately, and that's exactly what happened. I think that did a good part for that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Other than that, kind of episode 1 introduced us to the boys again. We learned what they've been doing. It's been almost a year since the events of season 1. We are introduced to what the boys is a new character that are introduced to this Mad Max. We learn later that it's this Maxine, and she's pretty much a new girl at school. We learn her backstory later, but the episode 1 kind of takes place about this arcade, and then we get the first tease of Will looking into the Upside Down.
Oh yeah,
and that was pretty cool. That was an awesome scene.
Yeah, I liked a lot of this too, and I know we just did Thor Ragnarok, and a lot of things in the trailer got spoiled for me and ruined a lot of the movie for me. But this, I don't know why, but watching the trailers, having a lot of this stuff get spoiled, I didn't really care like going into it again.
Sure,
because this is like an 8-hour like little movie experience for me.
Exactly.
So I look with that much time spread out, watching this again and getting like reminiscence of the trailers that's been like hyping me up for this moment, actually seeing it portrayed in the show. Yeah, just really good.
Yeah, it was great to see Hopper back in like full swing of standard police work, and then he gets. We figured out he has still like a better relationship with these scientists at these buildings because he's taking Will and his mom to these doctor sessions, and it turns out this Dr. Owens is that guy from Mad About You.
Yeah, Paul Reiser.
Yeah, Paul Reiser. Thank you.
Yeah, what I remember him from is the bad guy from Aliens.
Oh, that too.
So every time I see Paul Reiser as, especially like a scientist, I'm just like, oh, he's fucking evil. He's so bad. I thought he was gonna be like the main bad in this show, and especially episode 1. I'm like, there's something off about this guy.
Yeah, I liked how this episode kind of reintroduced the conflict with Barb and how she died.
See, I feel like the only reason this Barb side plot was in is just because of like the backlash of Barb dying in the first season.
You think so?
Yeah, that's what they talked about.
Yeah, I'm not saying what they did was bad. I'm just saying like I
That's
think
why it's there.
I think the only reason it's there is because like, oh yeah, people like Barb. Okay, we need to do something about her.
Yeah, but I think they played it off very well. I would say so.
Yeah, no, they didn't do it bad. I'm just like, okay. I think before even the Hopper stuff happens, we get to see that Winona Ryder, Byers.
Joyce.
Yeah, Joyce.
Joyce Byers.
She has a love interest.
Yeah.
Bob.
Sam Boy's Gimji.
Did that strike you guys odd at first?
No, I loved it because fun little tidbit that probably everybody knows. The actor was the main actor in The Goonies.
Yep.
The kids are almost identical to the Goonies.
In a future episode, he actually, like, when they're mapping out everything, he's like, oh, what are you going to find here? Buried pirate treasure? Which is exactly what happens in The Goonies. It's just a fun little tidbit. And yeah, seeing him in this, it's just like, oh, I love this.
But you're right, he's gotten old and heavy.
Well, he's 48 or 46.
I think that was what they wanted from him, too. Because he wanted to be Bob the Brain, who's slightly overweight. And
there's a fun tidbit here. There's an after show, like how Walking Dead has Talking Dead. on Netflix, Stranger Things has this thing called Beyond Stranger Things, where they get to interview the cast and crew and creators and all that stuff. And in the original script, Bob was supposed to be like a know-it-all and like talking down to the kids, like be like a step parent that comes in and is just like, you're not my kid, but I'm going to treat you like you need to respect me. Like that type of person.
I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Like,
But when they found Sean Astin, he was just so lovable coming in. They're like, oh, we can't make him the bad guy. We just got to make him a guy that just really wants to be loved by these kids.
yeah.
They talked about
And
how
that
hard it was to kill them off.
And that works
God.
so well in this show. It really does.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that mop. Oh my God, that was fantastic.
The mop.
Yeah, when he comes
That's
out
like
of the closet
episode 8.
and the mop falls out.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 8.
Okay, with him dying.
Yeah, I know. That's so bad.
And episode 1 ended with we finally get to see Eleven's back in it. And I wasn't expecting her to kind of be in episode 1, but it was good to see her introduced right back into the story. We learned that she's been living with Hopper, which totally makes sense.
Wasn't that the stinger of
Stinger-
the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to know that she's in the season, but like, the further we go along, like the weirder it is that 11 is in this season, in my opinion. Like,
yeah.
At least this early.
we'll get into it. It's weird. There are a lot of things that she could have prevented that she just can't because she's away.
Yeah, I think episode 1 just does a good job of getting the audience back in with that teaser at the end.
This show is like crack, I tell you what.
Yeah,
Because, a lot of the episodes end with like this stinger. I'm like, okay, I was going to stop, but I can't now. Okay, let's go. Now, on to the next one.
Yeah. That's exactly what we're doing. Chapter 2, Trick or Treat Freak. And I think this is the beginning of like the flashback kind of series. We see how 11 got to where she is with Hopper. And it's kind of nice to have like some context to what exactly happened to 11.
It was a lot shorter than I was expecting. I was expecting like there to be some like not really elongated, but just a more in detailed of how she gets back to the real world rather than I walk down a hallway, I walk down another hallway, and then I fist a hole in the wall.
Sure, yeah, that was kind of weird, especially the way that the first season ended. You just
Right.
thought she was going to be gone forever, but no, like, nope, I just reached my hand into this gooey spot, and
Yeah.
I'm back into the,
Yeah.
out of the upside down.
Which I appreciated when she goes to Will's house or Mike's house, and then he's being like talked to about the guys from the
Yeah, with her psychic powers and everything.
right.
Yeah.
So then she decides that she realizes that she has to run away.
This episode in particular is about trick-or-treating and the Ghostbuster theme. And like that's when we see like these four boys, these four actors come together at their best. And I think this episode, for me, one of my favorite scenes is these kids going trick-or-treating.
Yeah, like, that's my favorite part of this show is just, like, the core four just, like, acting with one another. Like, nobody wanted to be Winston as the Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
Like, they just randomly thought the black kid would be Winston, which is total bullshit. No, two people wanted to be Venkman because Venkman's the best.
Where they're suiting up, they're taking pictures with their parents, and they get to school, and then nobody else is dressed up.
Yeah.
Yikes. And it's really awkward. And then that's when they're also attempting still to work on the relationship with Max, Dustin.
Oh, I love Dustin. He's my
walk up
favorite.
to Max and like, hey, we got this club after school, yada, yada, yada.
Well, yeah, Max just keeps on calling all of them stalkers.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
I just like the part where Dustin shows him like shows Maxine his little gadget. He's like, "Look, it opens."
Uh-huh.
And she, I don't care.
We get the first taste. I'm not sure. Maybe I would argue we get the first taste of Lucas kind of showing interest in Max at this point.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I would say in the first season, Lucas like barely does anything. Like he's just a kid who gets angry and then goes away and then comes back. But
Yeah.
this season, you definitely get a different side of Lucas, and I'm glad. Like
Yeah.
I would say every kid kind of like stands up on their
Grew up
own
a little
in this
bit.
season. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
like that.
I'm not sure if I'd say that about Will.
towards the end, I would
Yeah.
totally say that.
Yeah, maybe towards the end.
Yeah.
We also learned this is like the first tease of like crops going bad, which leads into the bigger plot of what's going on with pretty much this town. And we get to learn how that detail kicks into later.
Yeah, that son of a bitch ruined my pumpkin patch.
Yeah, and it's like this is a small farm thing like that turns into this overall plot, which is really cool. Just these Duffer Brothers drop off these little clues leading to these bigger plots and these payoffs, and this kind of starts here, and it's so good. Also in this episode, we kind of Nancy and Steve go have dinner with Barb's parents. We get the little more story there of how they never told them the truth and how they want to, but it's just too dangerous because they're under this like contract not to say anything about the incidents from season 1 from the scientist.
Yeah, they put their home up for sale just to give a private investigator more money.
Yeah, what is that guy's name who plays that weird investigator?
He's the guy off of the other guys. He's the one that's like, "You get back here and fuck my wife."
Yeah.
The one that runs down the street.
He's in a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
Like Brent Gilman, I think is his name. But yeah, he's just a comedic actor who is in a lot of things that you know.
But plays a lot of good weird roles. Like he plays a good weirdo.
Awkward.
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah, so we get introduced to him, I think, in episode 1. And
Episode 1,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because he
this
goes
one
to see
too.
Hopper.
Yeah. And then we learned that this time, in this episode, Nancy and Steve's relationship is not as solid as we thought. Because they go to a Halloween party and
Nancy gets wasted.
gets drunk. Did that whole bullshit, this is bullshit scene in the bathroom kind of annoy you guys?
It's weird that I noticed that there's a lot more cursing in this season.
You think so?
They're getting
There's
older,
de-
man.
Yeah, but there's a lot more cursing.
I guess I wanted like a different. Maybe the scene that bothered me. Maybe it was just how Nancy and Steve broke up. Maybe that's how that bothered me.
Nancy got drunk and finally told the truth.
And then also going back to the boys here, we get another experience of Will having an episode, and like him pausing and freaking out on the street.
These fucking asshole 9th graders just jump out at him like, "Oh, you're a little freak."
Have you met a 9th grader from the 80s? Dicks.
I guess I have no idea, but why? What did they call him? Like corpse boy,
Zombie boy.
zombie boy.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like, kids are stupid. But yeah, he gets scared, and then he magically has a view,
Or
I don't even
a
know
vision.
if it's a vision of the upside down, and this is where you get to see a big picture look at this giant smoke monster.
Right.
8-legged smoke monster.
Like 8-legged smoke spider, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
11 in this episode, we learned that she's still trying to contact Mike in this, using her powers, which seemed a lot more fleshed out in this season, I would say, compared to season 1.
It seems where they're going with this show is that when they find all of the patients, the kids, 1 through 11, who knows, there might be more past 11. It's kind of like the X-Men kids.
See,
Kind of.
A little bit.
that's my problem. I hope they don't do that. See, I like that I want them to keep the kid aspect, and I want them to keep the creature and upside down world.
Yeah.
I really don't want this to
See,
turn into a kid X-Men movie.
I feel like we're going to talk more about that once we're once we're done talking about this season and we go into the next season. That's kind of my fear too, a little
I
bit.
don't want that.
I think they're going to go there, but at least right now we know of 2 actual people, 8
Right.
and 11, that have 2 different powers.
Exactly.
So you would think that there are multiple people with different powers.
Right.
Taking it back to 11, we ended season 1 with her having to go through this elaborate setup with her getting into water and getting all this perfect setting for her in order to go to this not the upside down, but this other mind dimension
It's
where she sees people
Yeah.
and feels experiences them. But then here she can do it just by blindfolding herself and touching something and kind of going back to that world like that. So her powers have definitely progressed, which helps lead to the bigger end here in the conclusion. So
And this episode ends with Dustin looking at a trash can. The trash can is shaking.
Right.
Opens up the trash can. He's like, "Oh my god!"
yep.
And then, done episode. Okay, I guess you hooked me again. Going on to the next episode.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump to episode 3, chapter 3, the Poliwag, which I'm going to say right now, I kept thinking Poliwhirl.
Whirl,
Yep,
yes.
Poliwhirl Pokemon.
I know it.
And it's a tadpole. Come on.
Polymag.
I wanted to say.
No, I get it. But just come on. That's the 90s, not the 80s, John.
I know. As far as this episode goes, we get more flashbacks from 11, kind of how they got set up in the cabin in the woods kind of thing. And
Yeah, it was Hopper's grandfather's, right?
yeah, and this is just kind of a continuation of this Hopper and 11 relationship and kind of what we understand the dimensions of this relationship and how it works.
This is where Hopper lays down the law, gives her 3 rules. Don't be an idiot. Don't ever get out of the cabin.
Exactly.
Don't open the windows.
Yeah.
Don't open the windows. Yeah.
Which sets the context up later for some conflict, but obviously we know that Hopper has lost his girl previously, so it's interesting to see how
He's overly protective of Elle.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like parenting but not parenting kind of effect on her. So interesting how that played out. We get a nice scene here between Bob and Will, and Bob tells Will, "Hey, I know what it's like to have fears. I was afraid of this clown growing up."
Mr. Bosco.
Yeah,
Dude, I was so saddened when that didn't work out in his favor.
for Will.
That crushed me.
We'll talk about the end of this episode, but holy God.
Poor freaking Will Byer. He cannot get away.
Catch a break, right?
I know. Go away, Mr. Bosco.
Yeah.
No more. I'm not afraid of you.
And Will just takes that like, oh my god, finally someone treats me like I'm a
he,
person.
Yeah, no, the look he gives to Bob
Yeah.
is just like, oh my god, you know what I'm going through.
Finally, someone's accepting of or like
Yeah.
understands me.
This kid cannot catch a break.
He didn't
and I
get
feel
crapped
so
on
bad
enough
for
in
him.
season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also learned kind of more about this polywog creature this is kind of where like Dustin has his own kind of like side story kickoff, and like it starts out as like a very like cool like I don't know classic '80s movie where this kid has a cool creature
With
and ends up being
attachment issues.
yeah been from out of this world or different dimension.
Can we just say Dustin's an idiot? Like even when I was watching this episode to episode, I'm like, okay, you see you know that there's a different dimension, and you know that dimension is bad, but then you think you discover a different type of species that's never been discovered before. I hated that shit. Like, it's bad. Why are you keeping it? Why are you trying to be like friendly to this thing?
He is a kid. He was desperate for attention, like for attachments, and they both liked nougat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's something they had in common.
Yeah.
there's some classic more boy interaction here because they take Dustin takes the polywog to school and get ready to show the teacher. By the way, I love this teacher. I love that stereotype of that teacher.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
The AV teacher.
Yeah.
He's always been solid.
Yeah.
Right. And then the boys have a discussion that kind of leads to them to say, like, this thing has to be from the upside down, but how did it get here? And they ask Dustin all these questions, and we begin to learn that Dustin doesn't want to give this creature up because the other guys are like, we got to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
Or we got to kill it or something. They don't know what it is yet.
And
but
that's
it's
when
bad.
Will talks to Mike and says that I coughed that thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also the first scene where Will and Max are in the gym at the same time. Oh, Mike and Max. And we learned that at this point we knew Mike didn't care for Max and having her in the party because that is kind of a conflict for him. But then at this point, Eleven has left the cabin due to these flashbacks she's had and remembering all these rules and how she wants to get out.
Yeah. Is that crazy or convenient that she's been in the cabin almost a year?
I think it's believable. It's a convenient, yes.
Yeah, but I don't. If I put myself back into like a kid's shoe, like I would get sick of being stuck in a cabin for a week, and I would try to do something about it. Let alone like close to a year.
Well, but then again, she doesn't know much still about the world around her.
Yeah.
And like her only lifeline is that TV.
I don't know. She just like in the first season, she got a glimpse of what freedom is actually like, but then she's stuck again in a place like. It's not as bad as what the facility was,
Yeah.
but it's still like you're stuck in a place again. Like you don't think she'd want to have the freedom that she had with the kids.
That
I think
knows
she
exists.
does because it becomes a conflict. Obviously, I mean, there's like, isn't there a scene at the dinner table where she's like, "It's been 52 days." You told me, then it's almost there.
Which I don't know. I think realistically, she would have been fed up with this way earlier than what it was shown. Like I get like. You had to wait a year from season to season, and you just magically it took a year for her to get so fed up with it. Like I totally get it being like season 1, season 2, and the kids get older, so you have to just like go a year older, just like the kids, because you can't hide kids growing up in real life.
Right.
So like I get it. It's just weird.
Jumping back to the gym scene, 11 walks in from like the door and sees Mike and Max talking, and 11 gets jealous and kind of flattens Max on her back off her skateboard.
Yeah, ruins a skateboard.
Yeah. As soon as I saw 11 going to school and Max comes out of the gym, like, oh, God, I know where this is going. And sure enough, as soon as 11 showed up at the gym, I was like, oh, shit.
Well, I really thought that Elle would do something way worse to Max than ruin her skateboard.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I thought she would do some physical harm to Max. So her just getting her skateboard ruined, she lucked out. Let's be honest. Like she just felt like, it felt like a magnet was pulling me. And then Mike's like, "Oh, Elle, are you there, Elle?"
All right. Also in this episode, Joyce begins to experience her, even more so, her freakouts because she watches a recording from Halloween night and sees like this. Somehow she makes the distinction in the camera feed that there's some kind of creature or like the camera catches this off
It's
world.
like it was like static on the TV.
Yeah, like that was a stretch, but it was cool.
Yeah. She has not made any growth since the first season.
I mean, understandably, she's overly protective of Will. She
Yeah.
freaks out when he's missing for 30 seconds in the morning.
You know, I get that. Kids change. Like kids will always change, and adults are stuck on their way. So I get how like she will always be overprotective.
Yeah.
I get that. It's just like in the show, like as an audience member, it's just like she has not made any changes. She's the exact same as season 1.
But I also think like to that she also was in a relationship now which goes to show that
Yeah.
she's slightly moving on.
Maybe.
She's-
You could see it that way. Let's not forget that the most important part of this episode ending was when their boys are looking for the polywog and Will goes outside and has an episode. And in this episode, he gets confronted by this giant creature above the school.
Yeah.
And then that's when shit hits the fan.
No.
Oh my god! Like
Yeah.
smoke gets in every orifice of that kid.
For a while there, I really wanted like something else to happen.
I wanted him to come out when he was like, "Go away, go away," and it's like, please, for the love of God, pop out of this. Please don't fuck this kid again.
Yeah.
But sure enough, that that I don't even want to call that.
That was terrifying.
Possession?
That was so terrifying. Like that looked very brutal.
Yeah.
All right, so that takes us into chapter 4 called Will the Wise. And this one picks up right where 3 left off. Will is having some concerns. He is feeling something is not right, and his mom is definitely picking up on it. And this is where we start to see Will start to have some nice drawing time. He's good with his crowns. He makes a nice little, what do you call it, map?
Yeah, not really little.
Well,
But yeah,
it's a kid. He's still a kid.
Big map, just drawing crayons.
A lot of black.
Yeah. And this,
If he's drawing all of this stuff, like it's not a puzzle that it can only fit one way. I can feel like all of these drawings, it could have made any type of map.
this is where they start to show where it's not like after in season episode 3 where the monster gets him. It's not like just like that he used him for information, then he's done with them. You start to see that there's something different about Will, and it starts I think with the bathtub scene
Yeah, where
she gets him a bath.
Yeah, and he's like, he likes it cold.
Yeah, and then that's where you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because he goes in like, the water's still too hot, Mom.
Yeah.
We also learned this season, because we forgot to mention episode 4, that Nancy and Jonathan have been picked up by the lab people for,
Oh, yeah, that part was really cool.
for like spying in on them.
To where like I think in episode 3 they call Barb's mom and just say like, oh, we have some more information. Can you meet us here? And she's like, are you messing with me? And like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And then so they know that they're on the hook. They know the government is listening in. So they go to the park and it's just like a whole bunch of agents just kind of bum rush them.
Right.
And it's very creepy. Like the car doesn't start and they're like, I think you need a ride. Can I give you a lift?
Right.
Super creepy. Very cool.
And then episode 4 picks up where they've been taken to the lab and they kind of show these two like the gap in the dimension of the upside down and tell them like, yeah, if you guys, this is what's going to happen if you guys kept talking about this. Can you imagine like the Russian scenario and how that would play out?
Yeah.
Like, that was cool.
And didn't Paul Reiser sound like a fucking bad guy in this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool. I liked how he handled that situation. At least it wasn't like complete bad guy from the first one.
Oh, this seems pretty villainous.
Well, yeah, it was like,
Yeah, but I don't know if the bad guy from the first one would have let him
Like this
go.
seemed so bad that when they recorded it, this is proof that they're doing bad shit.
Yeah, that's true.
but at the same time, like, I get the sense that they are just trying to contain it. They just don't realize yet of what's going on.
I get what Paul Reiser and all the scientists are trying to do. It's just the way like threatening teenagers that this information can't get out. Just seems like the bad way to go about it.
I can't say that would be any different, though. Showing them the hard truth of what's going on.
Well, I think it's more important to say, just to confirm that these two, that this is how Barb died. And that's what they were after all. That's what they were after from the begin with. And they got their evidence because they had a tape recording going the whole time. And that's what they were originally after.
Yeah, they wanted a tape recording of this. Like of course they knew how Barb died. They just wanted proof to actually send to people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked out in their favor. As far as other parts going on in this episode, we know Lucas is trying to get closer to Max in this episode.
There's a person we haven't talked about yet,
Yeah, Billy.
and that's definitely Billy.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with Billy?
I think he's a cool character. I like him a lot.
He is such a scurvy, like Cobra Kai douche.
/ Power Ranger? You played the Power Ranger, Red Ranger in the
He
Power
was
Ranger.
the Red Ranger?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, is that why he looked familiar? Because I had to look
He
it up.
must have. No, when he popped up in either the first or second episode, like jumping out of his car, I'm like, are we supposed to think he's cool? Because he looks so douchey and stupid.
No, that hair.
That
was like-
mustache.
Yeah. It's
that
all,
everything.
It's just all gross.
And when he's trying to impress people, like on the basketball hoop, and he's just doing like dumb basketball tricks,
Yeah.
he looks so stupid.
I loved it. It
Oh
was
my
so
god,
bad.
it was very 80s cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I loved
for
it. Though.
sure.
I loved it.
Yeah.
He tells Max to stay away from Lucas. Did
Yeah.
that rub you guys off like as a race thing, or
Yes,
just like a?
that's the only thing that it can go off of. Like, there's no other reason why Max can't see Lucas.
Okay.
Why?
Like, I think it's how What do you mean why? Like what other?
Why do you think it's race? Because he says, you remember what happened before, but they don't ever really talk about what happened before.
Yeah, no, they don't talk about it ever. He specifically says Lucas. He doesn't say anything about any other friend. He just always says you can't hang out with him.
Right. I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's so their dad is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then if anything happens to Maxine, which typically involves another person getting her into trouble, then he gets beat up for it because something happens to her. So he's like, you know what? Stay away from him. Otherwise, you're getting me into stuff, and then I'm going to get beat for it.
I can see it both ways, but I feel like it has to be intentional that it's Lucas.
I'm going to bring up something that happened later on, like when Billy and the main other kid, Steve, when Billy and Steve have their fight, he immediately goes to Lucas. Instead, there's a group of 4 kids there, but he immediately goes to Lucas.
Yeah, because he knows Lucas is like the love interest.
He doesn't know that.
Well, he knows that Maxine's spending the most time with Lucas.
I don't know. It seemed very race to me, like very racial.
Yeah, I think that's a vibe you can pick up on.
It's just
that's
weird.
Fair.
It's very weird because they don't explain anything. That's just the vibe I got.
Sure. Other things happen in this episode. Dustin finds out that Dart has broken out of his cage, but we also learn in this episode when Dart is eating the cat that it turns out to be a mini Demogorgon. We learn that's not a full fledged Demogorgon.
They call them demi-dogs.
Demi-dogs.
It's pretty sweet though because where goes from slug and then you see the moving of its legs growing inside of it and then finally kicks out the sides.
Well, every time it gets bigger, it sheds its skin.
Yeah, it's just all over the board with that thing. Mm-hmm. Sweet.
And then we kind of learn in this episode that obviously 11 and Hopper's relationship is not as sound as we thought. They have a huge fight because there was an incident on Halloween night where Hopper was supposed to be there with 11 to have a good, scary night together, and he botched it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was going through evidence and trying to figure out a case
He was
about all these pumpkin patches.
Yeah.
Right. And that kind of caused tension between him and 11. And 11 had a big freak out and didn't want to see Hopper.
And 11, with her powers, doesn't really know how to become, emotionally stable. So, she ends up freaking the fuck out and, breaking every window in the cabin.
Right.
So that scene was really cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in this episode, we learned that she finds the research on her biological mother and obviously begins to try to contact her via, her powers. So that was it was kind of cool to see 11 make some connections to her past.
Well, originally, Hopper said that the mother had passed away.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So once 11 actually figured out that, no, she's still alive, that's just another thing to be mad at Hopper about.
Right. And this episode kind of ends with Hopper getting to a tainted field, and he finds a tunnel that leads into the Upside Down.
Yep.
Did you find your guys self picking a side with Ellen Hopper? Who you kind of sided with, or you just...
I saw it from both sides.
No. Yeah, I didn't pick a side. I'm just I get why both of them are mad.
Right.
What side did you pick, Brent? Because it sounds like you did.
No, I didn't. I can understand why someone would. Both arguments had good side, but I could see someone splitting on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can see, Hopper definitely screwed up a couple times, for sure.
Yeah.
Instead of, taking blame, he just, kept on yelling at her and taking stuff away.
Right.
So that takes us into Chapter 5 called Dig Dug. Hopper, at this point, has become trapped in the tunnel and passes out because he gets sprayed by that nasty goop air thing, which is absolutely gross. And at this point, Will is having visions that's starting to make this connection with this creature, and the bond continues to grow. And he has a vision of Hopper being trapped in the tunnels, and that kind of sparks this whole conversation with how Bob, like we discussed earlier, got pulled into this whole mess, and how he figures out these tunnels are a map.
Well, at first they don't tell him anything.
No.
They're like, oh, you're good at solving riddles. You're good at solving puzzles.
Right.
Here, what is this? And then he looks. He's like, are you guys going crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then right towards his scene, before that scene ends, he's like, oh, you guys are looking at a map because this is this river and this is that lake.
He's going in to tell Joyce, there's something wrong with your kid. We need to take him to the hospital. Then he just looks up. He's like, oh, that's Lover's Lake.
Right.
Oh, this is a map. And then he keeps on going and figuring stuff out.
So that was cool. I think that's probably one of my favorite Bob scenes in this episode.
Yeah, as in general, Bob is definitely made out to be a lovable character.
Yeah,
for sure.
I loved every scene with Bob.
And I fell in love with him as well. Casting Sean Astin,
right.
Of course you're gonna have good vibes towards him, whether it be Goonies or
right.
Lord of the Rings or anything he's been in.
Yeah, plus he's just he was like the exact same thing Will was a kid, like the nerd that got picked on, and now he's a grown guy who's kind of just not had the luck of the draw in most of his cases.
Still a nerd working at Radio Shack.
Right, who's a freaking nerd with everything. Like AV stuff.
Definitely. And now he has like the hot girl from high school
Right.
as his girl.
Yeah.
So
And he's such a lovable guy.
Yeah.
And he's perfect with the kids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Jonathan and Nancy have made their way to Murray's like weird lab / home, and they decide to the best way to tell this story is to water it down in increments and to spread it to the public, and they kind of make tapes, and that leads to this whole awkward sexual.
I like this part, but this is a weird part. Murray's a freak.
Yeah.
He is a freak.
Murray's like a pedo.
This
secret
is like
pedo.
that leads to one of the funniest scenes of the whole season.
Yes, that's next episode, but that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in this episode, we learn that Lucas has plans to, despite being warned by his friends, to reveal what's happened to 11 and his group of friends to Max, and kind of sets the stage up in this arcade to tell Max what's going on.
Number one, before we pass it up, the arcade manager, the arcade worker.
Yeah, great.
Oh my God.
He's great.
No, he's not. He's a gross
Oh, I
ass.
loved it.
Cheeto fingers?
Yeah.
It was great.
He was
No,
perfect.
This dude, yeah, he's perfect, but he's a perfect gross.
Yeah. That's
Oh
what's so
my-
great about it.
Oh my God, I could not stand that kid.
He was the perfect gross.
I'm getting a date with Nancy now, right? You promised, right? Like, why are you gonna believe a 12-year-old? You're 17 yourself.
In this episode, real quick, Dustin traps the dart in the basement, which is actually a really awesome scene because I love seeing Dustin like get into like this hockey and military gear and like make this big deal about getting the Demogorgon into his basement.
Yeah, but all he does is like puts on all this gear, and instead of kills the thing, he just like swooshes him
Exactly,
into the little basement area.
thing. Yeah.
I was actually scared for him in that scene. It was actually kind of a good scene because it actually got some like thrills out of me when he's in the shed and it sees him.
Yeah.
And he starts to freak out. I was like,
Oh yeah, definitely.
well done.
Yeah. So in this episode, we learned that 11 is beginning to make, after reading all these articles, she's beginning to want to find out about her mom / this character called Terry Ives, who is her mom. And 11 goes on her own journey to pretty much figure out what happened to her and what's going on. And we kind of learn from scenes of flashbacks and her powers that she has. Her mom had a terrible case.
Here's something I can't remember. In season 1, did she say these same words?
I think so. I thought Hopper and Joyce visited her, and that's all she said.
See, I can't remember. If they did, that's amazing. How like they knew
What she was going to say.
exactly, yeah, or they knew the backstory of her in
Right.
season
They already
1.
knew it, planned it out.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
The mom's sister tells 11 like, oh, hopefully she's in a nice dream, but no, she's reliving like the most horrific part of her life over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's so depressing.
Yeah, that didn't sit right with me. But like, this shows how messed up that doctor is from season 1, and just how, that was dark.
Yeah, but that was so great to finally get some pieces to fill the puzzle with there. Mm-hmm. That was fantastic.
And it's also in this interaction that 11 learns that there is another girl out there. 11 sees it in the memory or begins to remember this other sister.
Season in the memory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the end of this episode, we learn that Joyce, Bob, Will, and Mike are able to rescue Hopper, pull him out of the tunnel. Unfortunately, they learn that setting the tunnel on fire causes Will to freak out, and that's how this episode ends.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's where they start to put the...
Where he's seizuring on the ground, like that was a pretty hardcore scene.
Did we talk about Hopper getting passed out by like butthole dust in the Upside Down?
Yeah, we like butthole dust. I think that was the term we
Wafted
used.
too much butthole dust. That's the way I want to go.
And we talked about him like getting rescued and everything.
We just did.
Okay,
Jesus.
I had trouble opening up a beer, and it took me like 5 minutes. It was embarrassing.
Episode chapter 6 starts off with The Spy. This is probably one of my favorite episodes because it has kind of the...
It's got a nice twist.
Yeah, when things are starting to go really bad finally. Mm-hmm. We learn that when Will is rushed to the lab, that this connection is getting worse because he's lost his memory of some more recent characters in his life. And at this point, I'm starting to debate whether if it's the Will at this point, or at this point maybe it's up to opinion. Is it Will at this point, or is it the monster using Will's memory to
Oh, it's the monster.
fill in the gaps here? You don't think Will's at all in this point?
No, I think he's kind of like what he says later, where he's kind of just in the back,
Yeah.
but he can't do anything.
Yeah, in this episode, they show brain scans, and it shows
That's
that
true.
the monster is like
Yeah.
90%
Yeah.
in his head.
And we also get like the first like sense of what this monster is because the doctor gives us it's like a virus, and this monster works by pretty much taking over a host, and that's exactly what it did to Will.
Yep.
So it's kind of a cool analogy to a virus and how it works.
One thing I like about this season as a whole is that, like, normally in shows that I watch, when they have like different story arcs with different characters and they try to intertwine them, it doesn't work. It totally worked.
Yeah.
Like, they had the whole Nancy and Jonathan side storyline spy stuff, and then they had all the kids doing their thing, and then they had Hopper doing his thing. I just liked how everything came together, and I didn't really mind it. It really worked out.
This was possibly one of the episodes that had one of the best scenes where, Nancy and Jonathan wake up the next morning with Murray and like, so how was that pull out?
What?
Yeah, most awkward but great scene in this.
That was good stuff. I laughed for a long time just
Yeah.
from that joke.
And I'm like, his face when he's just sitting, he's like, "Hey, Jonathan, how's that pull out?"
Uh-huh.
And just like smirking at him the whole time.
The couch.
And he spits up. He's like, what?"
The couch. It
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah,
Very well done.
yeah.
At this point, Dustin contacts Lucas, and the two get to trapping the dart at the local junkyard. Actually, this was a cool setup to be another cool scene in this show.
I feel like we're skipping one of my favorite characters of this season, and that is Steve.
Yeah.
Steve is like an underrated character in this season.
Well, Steve gets a spotlight in this episode.
I know, but I don't feel like people skip over him. But like, he was a big part of the season for me.
To be honest, he got skipped over in a couple episodes.
Yeah,
Like, it was...
Well, I know that, but at the same time, like his character development in this season was.
Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, it was him and Nancy in episode 2, and then she's like, "Oh, we're bullshit."
Right.
And then he goes away until like episode 5.
Yeah.
Where he randomly...
Dustin.
Yeah, like randomly happenstance. Like, he has roses for Nancy, and he's like, "Oh, Nancy isn't here. You come with me. I got a Demi-Gorgon you got to take care of."
Yeah, but I actually kind of liked him has switched to kind of I'm a good guy, but don't tell anybody. Where like he starts to build a bond with Dustin.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that was a good combo,
Yeah.
for sure.
So going along with Brent's point about Steve, we learn at this point Steve is kind of teaming up with the kids to trap Dustin's dart/Demigorgon, and they kind of set up this cool like meat trail. that
Yeah,
leads
just
them
like bologna slices.
Yeah, it takes them back to the junkyard, which is also very cool to go back to this scene because that's a very cool scene. And then we learn that at the junkyard, it gets dark, and this Demigorgon appears, and there's more than one.
Yeah, this is where we find out that, like, oh, the one that Dustin has been growing to love Nugent from Three Musketeers
Right.
is not the only one in town.
Right, so as
There are multiple, and it gets pretty damn scary.
Yeah, so as that scene intensifies, at the same time, we also learn that Will is telling like the doctor and this team of scientists that there's this spot in the map that the monsters don't want you guys to get to. And it ends up being the doctor sends the soldiers into this area, and it ends up being a trap. And that's why these Demigorgons get called away from the kids to go check out this area, and it ends up being a trap for the soldiers. And that's when we learn that Will, at this point, is definitely gone, and he's called the Spy.
Yeah, this episode is called The Spy because you think Will is being a spy on the Shadow Monster. But in fact, the Shadow Monster has enveloped Will to where he is actually a spy in the actual human world instead of the Upside Down.
Right, which is awesome.
It's a very cool twist.
Yeah, I love that part.
Definitely, for sure. So we're 6 episodes in now, and I would say the most action-oriented scenes that we've gotten have been like at the junkyard with Steve and all the kids.
Sure.
Does that bother you guys to where like we haven't really got like a lot of action scenes in this show so far?
In this show, not so much.
No, I wouldn't say so either.
I would think the writing and like the interaction between the story development is so good up to this point.
And there's a lot of happenstance in this show. Like, everything is happening consequentially. Like, it looks like Steve is about to die, and all these kids are about to die, but just happenstance. It just happens to happen. It just seems to happen. Wow, it just seems to happen that Will is a spy, and all these soldiers are there, and all the demi-dogs just magically run and attack these soldiers.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of... if 11 was in a lot of these scenes, she would be able to fix everything just like that.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the main like gripes I have about this season is that okay, we know 11 can kick ass. If 11 was here, she would be able to beat it right away. But since she's not, since she's doing her own little side quest, we have to have things just happen for a reason. And like, oh, these kids should be dead, but they're not because something else is happening in another part of town.
Yeah.
That kind of bothered me a little bit.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Rant done.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump to episode 7. I think this is going to be
The most polarizing episode.
We'll see.
I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about this.
This is called The Lost Sister, and to put this in a nutshell, 11 goes out to find her sister, and she finds out that the sister has her own powers.
Yeah, this episode reminds me of Walking Dead. Because The Walking Dead have a lot of like character-based episodes. Like, oh, hey, here's a governor episode. Here's what the governor's up to. Or, hey, Daryl has a backstory? Let's go towards that. Like, this is just like, 11 is figuring out her past. And that's what this entire episode is. Like, season 1 had 8 episodes. This has 9 episodes. I feel like the only reason this has 9 episodes is so 11 can get a backstory episode.
Now, me and Brent talked about this, but I think I don't like these stories.
So you don't like this episode?
I do not like this episode.
Okay.
I thought, like it was cool to see the sister and her powers, but I'd rather see her sister's powers in the context of the town instead of like this side tangents, Chicago, and them being semi-criminals and seeking revenge. Like, I just didn't fit in the context of Stranger Things for me.
So let's go around the table. We have Jonathan's opinion that he does not like this side story episode. Anthony, what do you think?
I didn't hate this episode. Yeah, did I think that it didn't need to be in there? Sure. But it gave me an extra episode of Stranger Things, and that's a guilty pleasure. And I didn't hate the episode enough not to bash it.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a good thought as well. Like, would you rather only have 8 episodes with this one not there, just being like a side story? Or would you rather have this like weir off and have some backstory towards Elle, which you figure out her name is Jane, but that never really comes back into the main story. Like, they still just call her Elle and 11. So very, very strange.
Right.
But
Yep.
Brent, what are your thoughts?
This was definitely my weakest episode of the season. I'm impartial towards it because it's very hard. I loved the part where she finds her mom and does all that with her. I thought that was great. But then when she goes to find this chick, then she's not exactly what she expected out of her. Like, they hug as sisters, but then like they're like the polar opposites essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was weird because the scene where her and the chick are looking at the freight train, the train car.
8 and 11, yeah.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of that scene in X-Men First Class where Magneto and Xavier, and he's trying to get him to pull that satellite, except it's the polar opposite. He's trying to find a good memory with Magneto, whereas this is the opposite. It's, I want you to find your most angry moments in your life and use those to your
Which seems bad.
That's exactly what I thought, though. I thought of X-Men First Class when I was watching that.
Yeah. Which
I mean, she is bad and Xavier is good. So it makes sense that they would like take their strongest parts of each other, just like embrace the hate or embrace the good, and then try to use your powers and do that. Because any power, you can either embrace either side and you can like grasp like all that intensity.
Right, but it like also makes me think that they're going to potentially make Elle like a susceptible thing in season 3, where maybe she gets used against the kids, and now Elle is kind of a bad thing.
I don't know if 8 is a good thing to have in like the world of Stranger Things.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah. My thoughts on this episode, I didn't mind watching it when it was going on, but this is the worst time to have this episode because the end of episode 6 has all of the demi-dogs climbing up into like the science area.
Right.
Into the science lab. And that cliffhanger was one of the worst cliffhangers. Like, that's right on top of like Will, like, oh, I gotta watch the next episode. And then you watch the next episode and it's like, oh, okay. Elle, her name is Jane, and her mom is telling her to go to here, and now, oh, she has a sister, and her sister is with a whole bunch of deadbeats, and they rob banks, or they kill people, and rob a whole bunch of shit just to get by. Just like
Yeah.
this
Well,
felt a lot like a filler episode.
the only good things to pull from this episode, I think, and I would wish they would have done it a different way, but the way they did it is that 11 realizes that her home is with these kids and Hopper, and after experiencing other things, she realizes home is home. And we learned that Dr. Brenner, the evil doctor from the first one, could still be alive because 8 claims that he's still out there, and that even though we thought we saw him die at the season 1, there's a possibility that he's still out there, which is cool because he's an awesome villain.
At the end of season 1, you never actually see him die.
Yeah.
You just see a cutaway.
It's kind of I like what they did, and I like the one thing they did in episode 7 is where they kind of pinpoint, because she always has like these mixed feelings towards Papa, but like Elle finally starts to see that, all right, all these guys who actually did stuff to hurt me indirectly, it's not exactly their fault because that guy has kids, and he was told by Papa that this chick is crazy and she needs this treatment to help her.
Oh yeah.
And I think the only other thing to pull away from this episode is with the train scene is that anger she is able to manifest during that thing also comes into the conclusion of this season. Mm-hmm. So how they went about that, the context of that, we probably don't agree with, but some of those things had to be done for the bigger story.
Yeah. The main thing I hate about this episode are all the side characters that I don't care about and that are never going to be brought back into the main Stranger Things story.
Yeah.
Like Mohawk Guy and Schizo Girl.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care. I really don't. I care about 8 and I care about 11, and that's it. And I barely care about 8.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so that being said, 7 ends with 11 having a vision of Mike and Hopper back at the lab, and things are going to hell, and she decides that she has to return to the town of Hawkins to help, and leaves Callie, her sister, behind. So that takes us to Chapter 8, the Mind Flayer. Is that what they call it?
Flare.
Flare?
Mm-hmm. Flare.
Yeah.
It's a race in D&D.
Yeah. So obviously, just like Season 1, a great reference to like a D&D game that these kids use to materialize this bigger concept.
I like how they brought that back, but I wish there was, again, more of it. Like, I loved how much they used the references to D&D in Season 1. Mm-hmm. And then in Season 2, I like how they brought this back. That's good, but I wanted kind of more of it. Like, this actually, I know what a Mind Flayer is from playing D&D.
Okay.
So that was fantastic for me.
See, to me, this felt kind of shoved in, especially like, oh, how do you beat this? Oh, it's an undead army. And
right.
You gotta, like, that part just kind of wet for it for me.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I think if they had done more throughout, it wouldn't feel so shoved.
Yeah. The D&D aspects of this season definitely felt forced because they did it a lot in the first season.
Sure. But actually, the whole Mind Flayer thing is a perfect correlation to the actual monster.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It just barely played any aspect in this season.
Yeah.
It just felt like it felt a little forced.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
So this is where things also start to go really bad. Like Jake said, the cliffhanger left off with the creatures coming up, and then finally in this episode they get into the lab and start killing, and things just. This is I think probably one of the bloodiest episodes of this show so far.
Yeah,
because the soldiers are getting killed, and then the labs take over. The lights go out, so the monsters get really scary.
Yeah, but then Brent can talk about why this is like the scariest episode.
The scariest is in the sense that it's not really like gory or anything like that, but it is.
It's a little gory.
It's pretty gory. Like this season in total isn't that gory. This is one of the gorier parts.
Yeah, I mean it's not terribly gory, but it is it's one of the goriest of the season.
Which is,
well, I mean you got like the monsters like sucking on people's faces, and then there's like 3 of them that just tear into Bob because he comes out of the closet, which you're like, oh my god, he gets out of it, thank Christ. And then that stupid mop handle goes slowly by him, which is done perfectly. And then your heart just sinks. You're like, fuck.
But up to that point, his scene, his final scene in this series, going through the darkness and how he handles it, and handles it is awesome. Just because it's so Bob at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then you think he finally makes it out, and he sees Joyce, and he's like, oh god. And then they have this loving stare, of course.
Yeah. And then
instead of running the fuck out of there and then having a loving stare outside.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, I see you. Oh, I love you. Oh, I'm getting eaten by a demi-dog.
Especially that also because they had to have computer Basic is what they called it in the episode, where they needed somebody who could reboot the computer system, and Bob's like, I know that.
Yeah.
I need to do that.
And he types basic pretty damn fast for 1984.
That's Bob. He's supposed to be smart.
I mean, it's pretty simple. It's yes and no, essentially.
Was the QWERTY system invented before then? Because I don't think so. He wouldn't be able to type on a typewriter that fast.
Yeah. It was such a great build-up, the whole episode with Bob.
Would you guys like how they showed Bob getting eaten, or would you rather have that faded out or panned off?
No, I think
showed it.
I think it was a good way to hit it home of I'm going to miss this guy.
Yeah, no, you definitely rub that in the audience face. Like, oh, you like this character? Too bad, because he's dead.
He did.
Plus, there's
He
even
did.
like a small sense they give you, like, okay, Hopper's coming with an M16. He can save him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, I think he sees two more coming through the door, and then you're like, stop teasing me.
Yeah.
And then Hop's like, all right, we got to get out of here.
Well, the main thing that I get from this show is that none of the core kids are going to die ever.
Yeah.
So every season you have to have some major death.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I took him harder than I did Barb, though.
Oh,
I just felt bad for Barb. Like, she comes in for 1 or 2 episodes, and then she just gets left in this.
Yeah. Barb is like, oh, you shouldn't fuck that guy. Like, I'm going to fuck that guy. And then Barb dies.
Right. I feel terrible for
No,
him.
with Bob, like, it was actually like making the, oh God, what's the family's name? Will Byer. Making the Byer family
Whole
more
again.
of a whole. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. More of a, like, strong unit.
Yeah.
And with him dying, they're just so fucked up again.
Yeah.
Just more bad things happening to the Byers.
So, of course, once Bob dies, the whole group begins to recollect. The whole cast is pretty much almost together at this point. And then they reconvene outside the lab. And they had decided at this point the best thing to do with Will is sedate him, because he's going to give away their location. He's going to tell them other monsters how to find him. And they decide it's not safe to keep Will awake. So they decide to take Will back to the shed and try to disguise it like they don't know where he is. So that shed scene, though, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they totally took everything out of the shed, just put up a whole bunch of carpets and blankets and cardboard
And
to make it look
tinfoil.
like, and even covered up the chairs with cardboard and
Yeah.
shit, just to make it look like he had no idea where he was.
Right, so you wouldn't recognize any of the chairs either.
It's cool.
Did you guys like the Morse code, like that's how Will was communicating?
I think it's the only reasonable way to have Will communicate to
I thought
the
it
outside
was.
world.
I thought it was really smart the way they did it.
Yeah, to where Will is actually being a spy
Yeah.
again.
It worked.
Right.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly for me. Yeah, because I mean, like they said, the monster is only looking and like using the eyes and ears. But I mean, well, I guess Will's using it too. He can hear it because he's going on. But then Will can just, tap on the side of his chair.
Yeah.
Yep. All he needed was a little wiggle room, and that's
Right.
what he got.
Did the emotional part of that scene do anything for you guys?
No.
Telling Will their favorite parts about Will.
I like that part. You didn't like that?
You're talking about where they still think they have a chance of getting Will out?
Oh, bringing we can bring Will
Oh,
back.
yeah, that, sure. Where they're all going through the stories. But, I mean, once they start going like, oh, yeah, we're keeping them busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That didn't really resonate with me as well. Like, I was just waiting for the monster to give away their... I actually thought when he was tapping, like, that was the monster telling the monsters... Or Will telling the monsters that they were there.
See, I immediately thought Morse code.
Did you?
Yeah, and you see that early in the scene, too.
That's true.
Him tapping.
Yeah. We learned that the tapping leads to the close gate message that what they need to do in order to get the monsters out. There's an awesome scene where the phone rings and like they think everything is going to get worse. And then we finally learn.
It's just funny because who the hell is calling the buyer's house at like 9:30 at night on a random night?
Yeah, what the hell?
Right?
Well, only person I could think of was like, weren't they waiting for a military phone call? For Hopper was? I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
But that never showed up.
Oh, they did show up, remember? They showed up the next day.
Yeah, remember, he's like, this is the phone number you need to call. I remember that, but I totally forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I assumed it was a military call and it was just
That's
really bad timing.
That's definitely what it was, yeah.
So at this point, like, we know the show's almost over, and they're all gathered like at the window because the monsters are closing on the location now, and things are about to get really bad for this whole cast. Mm-hmm. It's kind of predictable she's going to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When she came up, the music, the cinematography made it like a big deal, which was a big deal, but it was very predictable.
Okay, so episode 8 ends with only like one demidog dying. At least we only see one demidog dead.
I think we hear all the necks cracking outside,
Okay.
don't we?
Yeah. What we haven't talked about is Elle's like look, like the way she comes into the room from 7 into 8, where she has like slicked back hair and like
eyeshadow everywhere.
yeah, like black trench coat, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that?
It was okay. Didn't like do much for me.
I wish I don't know. I don't really care. It just her symbolizing she's changed, but I wish it was a little different because it reminded me kind of Matrixy / Gothic.
She was definitely bitching.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, compared to her like what frizzy hair she had,
Oh, that was so bad.
yeah, like the mop head there.
That looked awful.
Yeah,
Yeah, that just looked like Dad kept me in a
borderline
shed for a year.
tomboy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wrap up with the season finale here. The Gate.
A lot happens in this episode.
Yeah, it's really good. So
Yeah.
I think
And-
we'll do our best here to dissect it.
This is the longest episode. Like the rest of them have been between like 45 and 55 minutes. This one's like an hour
This
and
did
2.
this did not feel like it was.
It went by super quick.
Yeah, it was
for
so
sure.
fast.
A lot happened, and a
Yeah.
lot happened fast.
Yeah.
So how great was it to see 11 like first of all like reunite with the rest of the cast after killing these monsters and hugging the buyers?
That was great. I'm glad that her and Mike were the first ones that just
Yeah.
So after all the reunion stuff and the catching up, they devise a plan and how to get to the Upside Down and close this gate. Kind of recapping events real quick. Hopper and 11 go to the lab. The kids decide that they need to help create a diversion to get the monsters away from the lab. Jonathan, Joyce, and Will go to go to Hopper's shack, right? And create like an ultimate heal,
Yeah,
like a
'cause-
seat,
Yeah,
like a
the
heat.
grandpa's cabin.
Yeah.
because he's got the wood stove.
Yeah. So lots going down here. So let's start with Will. Will's scene with capturing getting the monster out of his body.
Yeah.
Them coming to the logic that this thing hates cold, so we got to smoke it out of him.
Well, the house was really important too because no one had any idea where the hell they were.
Exactly.
Especially Will, the creature.
Yeah, in this whole Will exorcism moment,
Yeah.
just Jesus Christ.
That was cool. Like seeing the black like shadows go through
Yeah.
his veins.
Again,
Yeah. And we haven't really talked about this, but that kid's performance in all of this
Yeah.
has been insanely
disgustingly
great.
good.
Who,
It's-
Will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Like when he cries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
his crying moments, his like just normal kid moments.
Yeah.
Everything that this
Flick of
kid
a switch.
does. My God. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if out of all of the kids he would get nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. Because
Yeah.
he was that good this season.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yep.
So they purge the virus from Will by overheating him. Then Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and
Steve.
Max and Steve enter the tunnels to create like a diversion, right?
Yeah,
By
they-
setting fire.
They
This
said-
is before Billy comes in. And
Right.
Billy and Steve have
Oh.
a fight.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah, because first off, Steve didn't want to go into the tunnels because he promised that he would keep the kids safe.
Right. And then Billy shows up before they get to the tunnels, and like it's the ultimate like '80s bro throwdown.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, it was a cool fight. It's like we wanted it to end, have Steve and Billy go at it.
It was cool, but Jesus, when Billy had Steve like under him and just kept on like wailing him.
Yeah.
Right? That was,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
But it was satisfactory to have Max be the one who puts her brother out of commission and finally stand up to her big brother and say.
Yeah.
But that being said, like Billy doesn't have the best circumstances, and I mean you could justify why he's a dick.
That's the thing. Like I feel like Billy was supposed to be like the main bad guy, human bad guy in
Yeah.
this season, but he has a lot of like qualities that don't make him a bad guy. Like at the beginning of this episode with the mom.
Yeah. Like I said.
Where he's like right out of like a passion novel.
That was
Yeah.
great. I
Oh,
love that scene.
That was really good, but it's just like, aren't you supposed to be bad?
yeah. And now
right.
you're like, God, now I feel bad for
now
you.
you're just like charming.
yeah. And then when he didn't beat the crap out of his dad, I'm just like, come on.
Yeah. I'm very like I hate you, but you make me like feel like I shouldn't hate you, but I
Yeah.
still hate you.
Which is maybe just the point of that character, just
Yeah.
because he's very very different.
I'm just guessing season 3 he'll be a good guy again.
I hope so. I'm okay with that.
That would be my guess.
I liked his character,
Yeah.
despite being his awfulness. And then we finally get to 11 and Hopper going into the lab. And at this point, the monsters have been cleared out thanks to the kids and Steve.
Yeah. And then Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
Paul
yeah.
Reiser. One problem I have with this is that like especially when you see Bob, all the demi-dogs go towards Bob and start like feasting on him and killing him immediately.
Yeah.
When you see Paul Reiser, he just has a little nipple on his leg, and he's still alive and still fine.
Right.
Like, wouldn't all the demidogs just devour him?
You would think.
Yeah.
Just like they had with all the soldiers. Like, everybody else is dead except for Paul fucking Reiser.
I mean, he could have just been attacked and then been called off right then because they needed him.
I know they don't show you anything. It's just weird.
Yeah.
And in the end, he doesn't turn out to be a bad guy, but he still like gives off bad guy vibes to me.
Yeah.
Like when in the last episode when he was leading Bob, I totally thought he was going to lead him to his death so Paul Reiser could leave and be alive.
Would you have liked it better if he had just like tripped and broke his ankle and then knocked himself unconscious?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Instead of just having like, a
small bite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And having his leg fucked up a little
Right.
bit. Yeah, if he would have like fell down the steps or
Yeah.
something, that would have been a little better.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if he'd just been unconscious and they came up on him like, oh, he's dead. Oh, no, he's still alive. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the only reason he was kept left alive is so he could be for next season and help
Sure.
Elle and all that shit.
Yeah.
So,
So right before Hopper and 11 tackle the gate, we get a very cool moment, and also one of my cool sad moments. For some reason, it ended up being sad for me, where Dustin and Dart get their final goodbye, and Dustin recognizes this Dart because of this yellow mark on his back.
that was sad for you, huh?
It kind of was. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because the demi dog. So John of course made the correlation of dog.
Well, that and like it's just like after everything that's happened, especially with Dustin like pretty much whacking that thing in the basement and trying to kill it, and the dog still recognizes Dustin and they have that Milky Way moment or the Three Musketeers moment.
Doesn't help that they put the little cherry on top at the ball later.
Yeah. The only cool thing about this segment is that like all the other demidogs seem to be controlled by the smoke monster,
The mind flare.
the mind flayer, except for this one. Like when the mind flayer gets closed out of the gate, you see all the other demidogs die, except for Dart. Dart is still like laying down but heavy breathing.
They're not dead yet at this point. They're almost dead. I think they sense the gate closing and they're coming running back. And Dart's the one who is.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like all of the demidogs
Are there
are
to protect
going to
him.
attack Hopper.
Yeah.
But Dart is still eating the Three Musketeers.
Right.
So at the final end battle, once the gate is closed and all the demidogs fall to their death,
sure.
Dart is still like breathing
Yeah.
right next to the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, which is sad.
Well, there's still like the possibility is open to where like you can take some of these demidogs that are controlled by the Mind Flayer and like maybe get them to your side if you train them correctly. Like it leaves the possibility open for that, which I like.
So let's get to the final scene where 11 is in front of the gate, and it's a very cool scene because the gate's huge, and they're halfway under the ground, and you get to see like the shadow of the creature behind.
It's like looking at an Eye of Sauron.
So at this point, 11 unleashes her, I don't know, call it final super anger.
Super
and-
Saiyan mode?
Yeah, and you get to see all these memories recollect in her head, all these bad things, and she's like, goes like Super Saiyan to close this door.
I can now use both of my hands.
Well, and she starts bleeding out both nostrils.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like graphically though, that scene is fantastic. Like what they do with her, where she starts to lift off the ground, and I don't know how to even describe it, but she looks
Well, she's levitating in the little cage while the cage is moving around.
right, but everything just I don't know, like a tint of red almost.
Like her veins are popping,
Yeah.
and her eyes are,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's great.
It looked really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really good. And then just her finally closing the gate, and like that, Hopper is so proud of her and says, "You did good, girl. You did good. Oh, you did good, kid." And it finally closes, and we get a nice temporary solution to the upside down world. And then we jump to the aftermath. 1 month later, guys, how'd you feel about these tidbits we got?
I thought it was great. I didn't want like a Lord of the Rings ending where there's like 6 different endings and kind of bringing everyone's thing to a close. I like how it was essentially the snowball, and everyone was pretty much there, and they concluded everyone for the
Yeah.
season at once.
I don't know if you remember this, but season 1, Elle really wanted to go to the snowball.
Right.
But then she went into the upside down and closed the gap.
Yeah,
So it was really cool at this season she was able to go.
yeah.
Really liked it. Was able to dance with Mike. Like it just ended very happily, which is nice. It was a good change.
You guys like those kids' kisses?
You gotta have your first kisses, man.
I did.
Even Will got some.
Well,
Except for Dustin. Dustin didn't get any of that.
I know, but Dustin's.
He got a pity dance.
But that scene where Dustin's getting rejected, like that was pretty good.
Yeah, but like his hairdo.
Oh, it's so hilarious.
Jesus, yuck.
Oh, I
And
loved
Steve
it.
drove him.
Yeah, no, Steve can pull it off. You with your curly hair, whatever is happening.
He looked
no.
like Rick Astley.
A little bit, yeah, yeah.
And then Will getting from some random girl like, "Hey, zombie boy, you want to dance?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would he want to dance with somebody that calls him Zombie Boy?
Maybe he's finally
He's just accepting that.
maybe he's embracing it
Yeah.
instead of fighting it.
Plus,
'Cause
now
what-
he's
what else
not
can he
actually
do?
plagued.
Still kind of shitty.
For Will, he should be happy that he's even getting a
Well,
dance.
yeah, with what he's gone through, I mean, anything's
Yeah.
And then of course you know it's coming, but you see Mike's the last one waiting for a dance, and
yeah.
then Hopper. Once you see Hopper and Joyce talking, you know 11's there somewhere, and sure enough, she walks in.
Yep.
About one of the final moments between Hopper and Joyce. This show has to be leading to a point where Hopper and Joyce get back together, because there is definitely segments throughout this season where you know they have a history, and it's not the best.
I'm guessing that's why Bob died.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
But
I'm guessing season 3 will jump another year.
Well, even at the beginning, where the two of them take him to the scientist, the scientist he's like, "Dad, come on."
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
I'm not the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I think the Snowball was perfect for the kids. I think Nancy and Jonathan and Steve's story is fine where it's at. I'm okay how that ended. And then I don't think there's as many as cliffhangers as there was for season 1, but how the camera churns from the snowball into the upside down and you see that monster again.
With the police singing like, "Oh, can't you see you belong to me?" The gate
Yeah.
is closed, but the monster now knows that 11 has these strong ass powers.
Right.
So he is just like, "I know who you are. You're some serious shit. I'm not gonna make the same mistake twice."
Right.
Which is very cool.
So it kind of closes with that. And that being said, I think this is just an easy talk about what we think or should lead into season 3.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to establish that I think this monster's going to be sticking around.
Definitely. This will be the big bad for sure. I would guess they signed on for seasons 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So I would guess it would be the big bad for the next couple.
Which I'm interested to see how they play that out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can do the virus thing again.
No, definitely not.
No.
And I know that when Paul Reiser and Hopper, I've been calling the guy Paul Reiser forever. I don't even know the character's name, the scientist.
Yeah.
Paul Reiser and Hopper, when they were talking, eating the sandwich, Paul Reiser randomly said like, "Oh, you should probably keep her in You should probably keep 11 in captivity for at least a year."
Right.
So I'm guessing the time jump from season 2 and 3 will be another year. If they jump another year, all these kids will go from junior high to high school.
Right.
Which will give another set of problems and just more hijinks for the kids to get into.
Yep. Right. Not to mention they'll be exploring like Lucas and Max's relationship. You got to figure Dustin's got to be getting a girlfriend eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan and Nancy.
Nancy.
Thank you.
I was wondering if a year progresses, Nancy will be a senior. Steve will be out of high school.
Steve should be gone.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
said he would like drop out for her, but if he doesn't have her, what's going to happen?
Right.
I'm guessing something will happen in town again and Steve will magically come back from college to help the kids.
Well, maybe he doesn't go to college and he does what he didn't want to do and work for his dad as lumberyard or whatever that is.
I could see that
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Then hopefully we get a little more out of Billy's character, the older brother, seeing how he's fleshed out. Because I think
Is he the same age as Steve?
I get the feeling he was.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
He looked so much older though.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what they do with that in season 3 because
If they do anything at all.
it was such a weird addition to the season.
Billy?
Both of them, Maxine and Billy.
Yeah.
Like they didn't bring a whole lot to the story.
I kind of liked him though.
Well, I mean, they did some character development with both, but they didn't really do a whole lot.
Max at least brought something to the table with the core group of kids.
And it gave one of the kids a girlfriend, which is nice.
Billy didn't do much. I'll give you that.
I was just expecting more from them.
I agree.
I think Sean Astin's character, as a new character, did more to contribute to the story than those people did.
Too bad he's dead.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Well,
I'm not even assuming. My prediction is that season 3 will open up with another number.
9, 10, 11.
I hope not.
I'm really thinking season 3 and 4 will go more into like finding all of the experimental kids.
Yep.
I don't think so. I think that dilutes the core 4.
Then why even like introduce 8 to begin with? Like why have this spin-off episode of 11?
I think in the first season they showed to 2 girls in the lab. I don't think they showed any more kids.
You don't think they'll just introduce more kids?
They could, but I swore they were saying a lot of kids died.
Yeah, and we don't know if like Papa is dead or not, and he might be doing more experiments to more kids.
If he came back, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but what if he came back and made more experiments on kids, and it was just like psychics or like mutants versus mutants, pretty much?
I think that really dilutes the story.
I do too, I don't want that.
I don't think that'll happen.
The strongest part of Stranger Things is the kids.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think they know that.
Anything that happened in episode 7, if that's the future of this show, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I can see them bringing Callie back, and somehow she ends up in Hawkins, the lost sister, and causing a problem.
But her power isn't much. It's just like, oh, okay, you think you see something,
Illusions.
but it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this bad feeling that they're going to bring Papa back, and then he's going to weasel his way back into Elle.
I think it's
and
gonna
then
happen
she's
too.
going to do bad things.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I think Elle's going to come back with more psychic kids. That's what I think. He'll have like 2 years under his belt to do something.
I hope they prove me wrong.
I just don't know why you would have that spin-off episode if you're not going to bring back 8.
Yeah.
And if you bring back 8 and 11 and they're on the same team, I like season 2 because it wraps up everything pretty tight. Like, there aren't a lot of loopholes. Like, the main loophole that I see is the demi-dog in the fridge.
Sure.
Like, I would think, like, even if you had it in the fridge, even if you kept it cold, the Mind Flayer would be able to control it and do something with it to where, like, that little demi-dog could open up a hole somewhere.
Well, technically, all the demi-dogs are still there.
Yeah, but they all dropped down. Yeah, I guess. I mean, they could all climb up.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of undead function there, I don't know if there is. But
And do the demi-dogs like it cold, or is it just, like, Will being the Mind Flayer?
I think all of them like it cold.
So if he likes it cold and he's in a freezer...
But also, because remember that when it was a polytoad, it hated that red light that gave off heat.
Polywog?
Polywog. Yeah, not
Polytoad.
polytoad.
God, back to Pokemon.
Stop saying all of its evolutions.
Jesus.
All right, so that being said, we kind of dissected a lot here. We got through every episode. That was quite the hefty chunk.
This was way longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we had a lot to say.
Yeah, we
but
did.
we got to wrap it up. We got to put our rating on this season, fellas. So I'll go ahead and kick it off this time. I love Stranger Things, like the rest of the world, pretty much. It's hard. There are some things to pick out, but the 80s trends just tend to sit well with the audience these days, and I'm no exception. So I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5.
I would say I liked season 1 better than season 2. So that being said, season 1 I would probably give a 4.52. This one I think I'm going to give a 4. Like, it's not horrible by any means. I just liked it a little bit less than season 1, so I'll do a 4 out of 5.
I think I'm in the same boat. I think I'm going to give season 1 either a 4.5 or 5, and this one a 4.
Anthony?
I'm not any different. I think you guys hit it on the head. It's definitely season 1 was better. I'd give that a 5. This one I'm sticking with a 4.
Just to my point, I actually liked this creature better than the Demogorgon from season 1.
See, I think the Mind Flayer plus the demi-dogs, like, I want more creatures to be introduced into this show for sure. Like, we have demigorgons and demi-dogs and a Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a totally different environment to where, like, you can create anything you want.
Yeah.
I just want, like, more variety.
Bring back legit demidog or demigorgons. Or explain something along one lines with those.
Well, I think they did the demi-dogs just to keep something from season 1 correlated as far as monsters go.
Knowing more about the Upside Down is one of the main things that makes me want to watch more about this, for sure. Like, the core 4 is one. Knowing more about some of the mysteries from the Upside Down is the other.
All right. So that being said, after our ratings here, this being a mini episode of sorts, we're going to go ahead and do what Brent is calling the Netflix trivia. Brent, our clip
Is that what you're
master.
calling it, Brent?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, Brent, if that was the case. But Brent, as always, is the clip master, the host master, in this case, the Netflix master, and he'll be dropping some clips on us, and we got to guess. Brent, will you drop clip number 1 on us? Or maybe you need to elaborate on some rules here?
This will just be multiple questions. So I'm going to ask you a question based off one of the Netflix series, and then I'll give you 4 answers, and you have to tell me which one's correct.
I already
All
said
right.
you're a clip master.
Well, that was wrong.
He's more of a trivia wizard.
Trivia
today.
wizard this... Oh, man.
Is there a D&D terminology you want to be announced as?
Okay, then I'm the dungeon master
Mage.
for this.
Dungeon master is a little dirty for this.
Brent's a mage.
More like a sea mage.
Brent the Dungeon
What?
Master. He knows most about D&D. I don't know anything.
I'm the one that actually runs the trivia, so that makes me the dungeon master.
All right, dungeon
Or
master.
The GM.
Okay, so
Game
what?
Master. Game Master.
Okay, so what are we then?
Anthony's a Goblin Warrior.
Okay.
He's pissed.
That. I actually have a Dungeon and Dragon character. I'm a Deva.
Okay.
A level 6.
A diva?
Deva.
It's Spanish for Dave.
I don't know what that is. Okay, we'll do you. You're a Tiefling Warlock. Okay,
Fine.
that's what you are.
Fine.
Jake, you're a half orc warrior,
I'll take it.
and John,
Oh, boy.
you are a
Elf.
prepubescent bitch boy. No, you're a. We'll do a woodland archer. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way for some reason, this Brazilian actor plays Pablo Escobar on Narcos.
God damn it. He's the guy from Kingsman.
yeah.
Yes. So Pedro Pascal,
Yep.
Wagner Moura, Diego Luna, Rodrigo Santoro.
First
A.
one. A.
Yeah, it's A.
A? Incorrect.
D.
It is Wagner Warna.
Oh.
Dang.
Yikes. Nope. Not me.
All right, question 2.
So is this all just for like our own individual score?
This is just you collaboratively need to get the question right.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
this is a co-op D&D
Yes.
campaign, eh?
Name
All right.
one of Jessica Jones' powers on Jessica Jones. Super jumping, mind control, invisibility, immortality.
And whore.
And sex.
So say those again.
Super jumping, mind control, invisibility, immortality.
Super jumping.
It is super
Yeah.
jumping.
Correct.
Ding, 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 ding. Or 1 for 2.
Good job, guys.
Team effort. Team Wizards.
What's the most famous thing Dev has done as an actor on Master of None? A Go-Gurt commercial, a role as a doctor, a barbecue commercial, a role in Halloween 13.
You guys watch this show? Because I don't.
I have. It might be Gogurt. Say them again.
A Go-Gurt commercial, a role as a doctor, a barbecue commercial, a role in Halloween 13.
I want to say Gogurt.
I'll go with Jake. Gogurt.
Okay. Correct.
Ding, 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 ding. 2 for 3.
That show's really good. I'm really mad you guys don't watch it.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
The only reason I'd watch is because Eric's on it.
Yeah, it's got Eric Wareheim.
That's about it.
He's directed a couple episodes, and any episode he's in, it's really hilarious.
I've
Yeah.
never liked in seasons, Ari.
Yeah, not funny.
Question number 4.
Just because you yell doesn't make you funny.
Yeah. What's the name of Bojack's old sitcom on BoJack Horseman?
I have no idea on this.
Horsing around, horse carriage, horseback rides, hello neighbor.
Okay, I want to go hello neighbor. That's funny.
Have any of us watched this?
No.
Shit.
All right, so we're going hello.
It's got to be one of the three because all of those sound very familiar, so it would have to be one of those.
What's B?
Say them again.
Horsing around, horse carriage, horseback rides, or hello neighbor.
See, I had to guess one, but I don't care. You guys make the decision on this.
All right. Carriage.
Carriage. It was horsing around. Does Daredevil ever wear a real superhero costume in season 1 of Daredevil?
At the very end, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct.
Ding, 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 ding. 3 for 5.
Yes.
How many are there?
20.
Okay, we'll do 10.
We'll do 10. This Netflix horror series takes its name from a fictional Pennsylvania town. Twin Peaks, Snow Creek,
Bates Motel.
Hemlock Grove,
That's it.
Hemlock Grove.
or Donnybrook.
Hemlock Grove.
Correct. On this Netflix series, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin move in together when
know
their
this one.
husbands announce they're in love.
Grace and Frankie.
Ew.
Yeah.
Go ahead and watch like Retirement Home Sick.
I've never seen it. I just know, like, the picture on Netflix, it says Grace and Frankie, and it has, like, a dildo.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
Yikes. You can have that.
I'll take it.
Bloodline revolves around the lives of the Blank family. Chandler, Soloway, Rayburn, or Harrison.
Rayburn? I've seen this show.
I have too.
I'm going to be mad if I don't get this right. Rayburn.
Rayburn. Correct.
Good.
Why is Piper in prison on Orange is the New Black? For trusting Alex. Alex ratted her out. Transporting drug money. All of the above.
Main reason she's in prison?
Yeah.
Why is Piper in prison on Orange is the New Black? For
Just
trusting
why,
Alex.
not the main reason.
Alex
Well,
ratted her out. Transporting drug money. All of the above.
What was the first one?
For trusting Alex.
Yeah, it's
That's
D.
not reason for going to prison.
Yes, it is. She trusted her, and then she backstabbed her, but it was because she did the drugs.
I still haven't watched the new season. I don't know why.
This is season
Yeah, I
1.
know.
I'll just go all.
Yeah, I know.
Let's just
It's
go
all
D
the
all.
above.
Let's just do D.
Okay, that's correct.
So what are we at right now? Have we only
You're at
missed
6
two?
out of 10. Or
Right.
6 out of 9. You
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
3.
Miss 3.
Oh.
This is question 10. What's Jessica drink of choice on Jessica Jones? Vodka, whiskey, beer she doesn't drink.
Whiskey?
Anthony?
Let's go vodka.
Vodka.
It's vodka.
Whiskey.
Oh,
bastards.
Oops. So we end with 6 for 10.
Yep.
That's pitiful. 60%. We fail.
Yeah, that's not good enough to give his ski.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, that said, that's been Netflix Trivia. Guys, thanks for joining me on this special episode of Super Media All-Stars, where we dissected Stranger Things Season 2. Audience, I want to thank you for joining us. You can find us on all kinds of social media these days. You can find us at Facebook at Super Media All-Stars. You can find us on Twitter at Super Media All-Stars. You can find us on Instagram as Super Media All-Stars.
If any of you have any recommendations for us to like review a season on either Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, anything, just let us know on Facebook or Twitter or email us at supermediaallstars@gmail.com. Just anything. We're always up for a challenge.
We'll start watching it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, be sure to check us out on all our streaming services. You can find us on YouTube at Super Media All-Stars. That's where we post more of our content, so feel free to watch and feedback there. Please also subscribe. We appreciate that. You can find us on podcast services. Please follow us and subscribe there. You can find us on TuneIn, an internet radio program, so feel free to check us there. We're also now on Google Play, if that is your listening preference of choice. That being said, that has been the special episode of Super Media All-Stars. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
I'm back, yes.
Game over, man. Game over.
Bye bye.
I am out of here.